Hi guys, here with a review of Lee Wenhall's newest movie, The Wolfman. I saw it this week, wanted to check it out. I was a big fan of The Invisible Man, and I also liked his other film, Upgrade, a great science fiction movie. And I wanted to see how he would handle The Wolfman since he was really successful with 2020's The Invisible Man. And I gotta say, I did not really liked this movie. I thought it had a lot of problems, and the Wolfman wasn't terrifying at all. Right at the beginning, we're introduced to the character that will soon become the Wolfman, a character by the name of Blake. And this character, you're shown a flashback scene of him as a kid, and he's with his father, who's like this hunter, and they live out in the woods, kind of isolated from society, no cities, no, not nothing like that's urban, just completely like isolated from the rest of the world. And they're outside hunting, and they encounter something monstrous, a wolfman like creature, and it freaks them both out. And you have, at the beginning, you have a strained relationship with father and son. Both are, the father is hard to deal with. He's prone to anger, and Blake is just trying to, you know, he's quite curious, and that gets him into trouble with his father. And yeah, there's like a uneasy relationship with them. After that, we are then taken to the present time, 30 years later, and Blake is an older guy, probably in his like early 30s, and he has a kid. He has a daughter, and he's a lot nicer to her. He's learned the mistakes of his father and treats his daughter very differently than how his father treated him. And that was nice to see. You definitely see that the character wants to change things for the better with his family. And he's married to a woman by the name of Charlotte, who is a journalist, and she is also trying to write a book. And he's a writer, but he's in between jobs a lot, so nothing's really that consistent uh, with work. So yeah, it creates a strain on the marriage, and so they're not, you know, it's been difficult for them. It's been rough, and they both feel it in the relationship. And yet, fate has something in store for Blake because he receives a letter that his father passed away, and that the cabin he previously had is there, still there, with all the things that were inside of it, and so he tells his wife Charlotte to let's go, all of us go on a trip and see the cabin, and they do, and she's like reluctant to it. She doesn't initially want to do it, but she goes along with it, and they go and check out the cabin. It's at this time that I was really enjoying the movie. I liked the whole thing between Blake and Charlotte having this strained relationship, and him being really nice to his daughter and showing his good side that he had, rather than his father. And I really liked that. It just created some mystery about these characters and his relationship with his wife. And then when you get to the cabin, it still has that tension. It still has that mystery about it. And you're kind of like left wondering, like, oh, is this going to be just as good as the Invisible Man? Because the Invisible Man had that with its abusive relationship theme, like domestic violence, right? Lee Renhall likes to put these elements in these recent horror movies that he's been making that are based on the classic monster movies. On the one hand, you have like the Invisible Man, which deals with domestic violence, and here you're kind of like, it's kind of like talking about like stuff like trying to be better and trying to not fall into the sins of your father. And all that is really good. I definitely like that Lee Renhall is putting this stuff in these monster movies to make it more palpable, that they're not comic booky, and that they're actually like real stories, with real characters dealing with real shit. So we're in there, and then uh, there's some danger that follows them. There is a wolfman that is hunting them that is, circling the cabin. And eventually, Blake gets attacked by the Wolfman and he gets infected. And the actual like transformation of him in the beginning into the Wolfman is quite brutal, is scary, it's bloody, and it starts to be really terrifying. And you're like thinking, oh wow, this is going to be insane because they're kind of locked into this cabin. They can't go outside, and Charlotte and the daughter are realizing, oh, like Blake is infected and he's gonna kill us. And then you see the Wolfman. You see the transformation is complete, and this is the part where it slowly goes downhill from there. For me, I just didn't think it was all that scary. I initially I thought it was just really good as like these characters in this situation, and then it just became quite confusing and just like them being chased around by the Wolfman and going back into the house, and it just didn't. It wasn't scary enough. It wasn't. There was not a lot of tension, unlike the Invisible Man, which I felt that was really scary and actually had a great bit of tension to it. This movie just falters a lot, and they do a thing where they telegraph things that that show up in the end. And sometimes I like that in movies if it's done in a clever way. And this, it wasn't. It was just like, okay, I know what's going to happen. Like, I know what's going to happen at the very end because of the situation with him and his father and how they dealt with the situation then in the past. And then there was another thing where I'm like, where you kind of get the feeling like this particular Wolfman that's hunting them, I wonder if it's someone. And then it turns out it is that person. And I was just like, really? I just, to me, it wasn't surprising. I kind of, anticipated a lot of the conclusions pretty early on. And yeah, it wasn't scary. And it was just, you know, it just wasn't terrifying. To me, it almost felt like something out of like Jurassic Park or something. It just wasn't spooky or terrifying, and to me, that's a letdown for a movie that's, about the Wolfman, and just the look of the creature was not great. So, with that being said, with everything that I've talked about, I'm gonna give the Wolfman 6.5 out of 10. I think it's problematic. I think the first hour's good, or the first 30 minutes of it, and then it just goes downhill. And this is crazy coming from a fan of The Invisible Man and Upgrade. Lee Winhall with those two movies just killed it, and I just don't know what happened with this movie, but I was disappointed by it. And that's going to be the review. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you guys thought of The Wolfman and if you liked it. I'm curious to know what your opinion on it is. Anyway, see you guys. Have a good one. Bye.